Hey guys, Sundown here. This is going to be my chapter review to My Hero Academia or Boku no Hero Academia 235 Tenko Shimura Origin. Now, for those of you who've been subs to my channels for ages, to those of you who've watched some of my older videos, you will realize that my old mic is back. I brought it down from Birmingham to London, and I'm using it again because I've had enough of the headset. I think its audio quality is pretty shitty, and this microphone is just good. So I'm going to use this, and hopefully it's better. Hopefully the videos are more entertaining and easier to listen to as a result. Now, this chapter was awesome. It hit me right in the feels, right in the warm and fuzzies, and kind of made it a little bit cold and dark. But definitely a solid chapter. So we start off with Redestro talking about his overload cluster quirk, which draws out his stress, converts it to energy, and releases it over a wide area, which doesn't really explain the darkness and his size kind of aspect of it. But basically what happens is he takes in stress and converts it to energy, which makes him supersized for some strange reason. He becomes gigantic, and it coats him in this darkness, this kind of final Getsuga kind of thing. And you see him here, his heart's beating quite loudly. He's obviously perturbed because he's seen something, and what he saw was that last chapter Shigaraki, instead of recoiling and assuming fetal position trying to defend himself from Redestro's Getsuga Tensho, which destroyed half of the city, what Shigaraki did was he grabbed the attack, he touched the attack, and you can see in his flashback Shigaraki literally decays the Getsuga Tensho from Redestro, and I was like, this is pretty sick. I mean, like, with how quickly Shigaraki is evolving, I think it's a little bit too much. Like, come on, man, you've given him decay that travels across people. You've given him all this like life and death speed type thing. Very agile now, but you're giving him a lot of power-ups very quickly. I understand it's to keep up with Deku because he has access to another quirk, and he has One for All, which is a really super powerful quirk. But I do feel like there are a lot of power-ups being bunched and thrown at all of our villains at once, and I'm not sure if I'm a fan of that, but I do see why Horikoshi has done it. Anyway, Shigaraki decays Redestro's attack, and that's what's got him thinking, yo shit, this is gonna be stupid hard, this fight. Anyway, Shigaraki's there, he's like, all my senses are sharpening, everything's become clear and vivid, I remember everything as if it happened yesterday. And he also gives us his reason for once again wanting to destroy or what he's trying to create. And his answer was kind of, I truly exist only to destroy. And I was like, you know what, I was kind of hoping for something a little bit deeper. Maybe you'd be able to provide, a genuine reason. I mean, we go into the backstory here of Tenko Shimura or Shigaraki, and I mean, his reasoning for wanting to exist only to destroy and all that shit, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. But for me, I feel like it's a very Jokerish mindset, and I feel like there needs to be something more than that, unless you have that kind of menacing, chaotic mindset that the Joker has, which Shimura tends towards, but it's not the same. I feel like he needed more of an explanation. I'm not sure whether you guys agree with that or not. So Redestro goes into full cowl, and he looks awesome. He looks genuinely sick. He has like this kind of netted visor going over his eyes. He looks awesome, and his issue is there is no future without creation, so he can't let Shigaraki survive. We go to a flashback where we see Shigaraki's mom apologizing to this dude for the problems he's caused, for the trouble he's caused, and she's like, I'll discipline him properly. And then we go to the disciplining, which is Tenko's father, who drags him aside, and he's like, you bothered someone while playing your little hero game. So obviously it's Shimura or Shigaraki enjoys playing these hero games. It's something he's done before, and he's bothered people with it before, and his father's going to discipline him. And I was like, okay, cool. But the part that kind of got my hair sticking up on end was when his mother, Shimura's mother, says, Kotaro, stop, don't be violent with him. And I was like, god damn it, I knew it. Like, I think a lot of people have called it, a lot of people will have guessed it just like from context, but it looks like Shigaraki's father was indeed abusive, which is why Shigaraki is the way he is and why his childhood is the way it is. So the one rule they had in their household was do not talk about heroes. You see Shimura locked outside because his dad had probably just disciplined him and let him and locked him outside, and he's not allowed back in until he apologizes. And his dad is very much like the rules are the rules. He's not allowed to talk about heroes. And what annoyed me here was how kind of we see Shigaraki's mom and her parents, which I think they're her parents anyway. We're told that Shigaraki's father brought them into his house when he was younger because he'd made money real quick, and a lot of money real quick. But they're all very, very passive. And I mean, this is usually the way abusers are enabled. It's when the other parent is quite passive, quite introverted, quite docile. And in this case, her parents also seem to be the same as her, very calm, collected, docile, introverted. And they kind of enable this behavior that he has. He's like a man of the house. These are the rules. I'm going to beat him. I'm going to beat his ass if he doesn't follow the rules and stick him outside and all that shit. But here we learn that Shigaraki, when he was 5 years old, hadn't gotten a quirk. So this is where all the theories are going to come flying out. He hadn't gotten a quirk at the age of 5. Very much like Deku. His entire backstory, very much like Deku, other than the abusive nature of his father. But Deku didn't have a father, and he was raised by a single mom. So his father, Shigaraki's father, he's very much of the mindset that heroic aspirations only lead to misfortune, and he's trying to instill in his son that because he doesn't have a quirk, he can't lead a hero life, and he's trying to get that suffering out of the way. But in my opinion, I understand what he's trying to do, but he's doing it in the most wrong way you could go about it. So Shigaraki says here, his father was an entrepreneur who built up a lot of wealth at a young age. He invited his parents-in-law over to live with them after building their house. So here we see his mom, Shigaraki's mom, taking care of him afterwards, and you see around his eyes, especially, he seems to have some sort of he has an allergy, but some sort of reaction or eczema-ish kind of thing. But around his eyes and down his kind of cheeks, essentially, he gets itchy a lot, and he says he only gets itchy when he's at home, which that could be somebody's fault, or it might be just the dust from the carpet or some shit. I don't know. But his mom asks him here, she's like, do you still want to become a hero? And he tells the story of how he and his friends, Mikun and Tomo-chan, played essentially hero, and it was really fun. And they let him be All Might because he had the kindness to want to play with them. And you can see his mom kind of saddened by this, because she sees in him the same thing that Deku's mom saw in him, the desire, the love of wanting to help people and being a hero, and the love of heroes in general. But she sees that he can't be because he doesn't have a quirk. And Tenko is obviously very, very enraged, very saddened by the fact that his dad won't let him be a hero, and his mom can't do anything about it. She's like, your dad he knows what the situation is, and you can't be a hero. So then we see like him, he says kids can be crafty, which essentially can be crafty but also very simple, which refers to what his sister does. So we then go forward. He talks about how the adults, what adults say to kids is the law, which is true. But his father had built a house which denied everything that he was. So every fiber of his being was leaned towards this desire to be a hero, this desire to help people, this desire to want to be for the people. And everything his father had built in this house was against that. It was, you're not going to be a hero, you don't have what it takes, you don't have a quirk, you're worth less in that regard. So this is where Shigaraki's sister, I've forgotten her name, shows Shigaraki a picture of his grandmother, who is Nana, the previous owner of One for All, prior to All Might. And she tells him, she's a hero, and she even says to him, even after everything that dad said, I'm on your side, we should become a brother hero sister combination. And obviously this means the world to Tenko, because he's like, my grandmother's a hero, this is in my blood, this is something I can do, it's not just a pipe dream. So I thought that I was like, yes, like that's a really lovely thing to do as an older sister. She looks like an older sister, but then she does something unforgivable, but it's something a child would do, and you can't really blame her for what she does now. So Shigaraki's playing with his dad, and suddenly he gets a pain in his hand. Now, say what you will here. This could mean many things. This can mean an infinite amount of things. But it seems to me what this is suggesting is that his quirk is activating. So he's not under dire stress at this point. And this is just, he's happy, he's scratching his face because of his allergic reactions. but he feels something in his hand, pain in his hand, and he looks at it and he's like, the fuck, like what was that? That's his quirk activating, but I'm not sure how it happened. It's not at that age, at 5 years of age, he should have already had his quirk, I think. Same with like Deku. So he didn't really. I don't think he was at the age where he should have developed a quirk. So this suggests to me that like a quirk was put into him. I'm not sure, like maybe behind the gate or some shit like that. All for One's just on the other side, and he was like, pew, and he gave him a quirk or some shit. But he suddenly gets a quirk. I don't know how, but we don't see it yet. The Tenko's father, I've forgotten his name. It is actually mentioned. He comes out. He's in a rage. He's like, "You saw it, didn't you?" And he's referring to the picture that Tenko's elder sister showed him, and she's there saying, "I only showed it to Tenko because he wanted to see it." Obviously blaming him for the image, when in reality she showed him because she wanted him to feel better. And the reason why she did this is because she knows her father's abusive. She sees her father being abusive. She didn't want to face that rage. So in a panic as a child, she blamed it on her younger brother, who's probably not going to speak his mind, and who their father seems to be very used to beating in general. So maybe he seems to show some sort of favoritism in terms of who he beats out of his kids. But Tenko kind of drew the short straw here. I don't really blame his sister. She's a child. This kind of shit happens. But his father proceeds to go to pound town on Tenko. And Shigaraki does get his ass beat here. His father open hand slaps him. His mother's there screaming at him, saying like, "You need to stop." And his father's just there talking trash about Nana, saying she's a terrible woman who abandoned the child. I'll teach you what a hero really is. Even though he's not really teaching him what a hero is at all. You see his grandparents, they're kind of like, "Oh, don't do anything." His mom's crying, and nobody's helping him, which is what creates the Shigaraki we see today. The Shigaraki who was abused, who was held down, whose dreams were constantly questioned, and not even questioned, whose dreams were constantly shattered and thrown aside, trampled. And his mom, even though Deku's mom kind of thing, like trying to enable some of that dream, she doesn't do anything to stop the abuse here, and that's on her. Like, I can't blame Shigaraki's sister for blaming him for the picture, but I can blame his grandparents and his mom for just watching. And like, it doesn't matter if she's crying. She watches as her husband abuses her child. His father says that their grandmother hurt their own family and chose to go and help some random strangers instead. Then we see his father holding a bunch of letters in his office. And he's obviously calmed down by this point. His eyes have lost all that hatred. Very good artwork, by the way, from Horikoshi here. You can see the emotions this chapter. And we see here that Nana was very, very regretful. She even left these letters for her son. But she was very regretful, in pain at having to leave her son. She explains that she has to go fight a really bad man being the worst man, all for one. And she even explains that she's left him in somebody else's care because he might come for Kotaro, which is Shigaraki's dad, and she needs to stay as far away from him and essentially isolate one another from each other in order to keep him safe. And she apologizes for not being able to be a good mom and all that stuff, and this is like really painful stuff here. And she even tells him, "I'll love you with all my heart. Please live a happy full life. I'll always be watching you from heaven." So I feel like at this point, because we have Shigaraki already talking about All Might, so All Might has already taken over the mantle of One for All. He has taken One for All, but at this point it sounds like Nana knew she was gonna die. So was this a point where she'd already started transferring One for All to All Might, or was she just not confident in the fact that she would be able to beat All for One from previous encounters? But she knew something where she essentially knew she wasn't going to come back, which is why she tells him she loves him and she'll be watching from heaven. And at this point, you see Kotaro saying, "It would have just been easier if she told me that she'd hated me." So Shigaraki's mom comes in and she's like, "I've had enough. You went too far." He's there saying, "I want to apologize to the kids." Well, actually, does he say? Yeah, he kind of suggests he wants to apologize to the kids. He's like, "I went too far. Where are the kids?" And she questions him on his ideology, what he would have had when he was younger, which is, "I wanted to build a happy family." And he's obviously like, it wasn't supposed to be this way. Now, the only question I have here is it seems to me like Nana did a very, very good job of leaving a pretty wholesome explanation of why she had to leave Kotaro, why she did the things she did, and the fact that she loved him, the fact that she probably foresaw her death. She did a very good job of that. And even though he would have felt abandoned for 10, 18 years, 20 years, at this age, surely he, after growing up, realizing, being a bit more worldly and traveled, he would have understood, you know what, and if he'd actually studied his mom's story a bit, surely he would have seen that, you know what, my mom was a hero, my mom did the best she could, and I'm alive because of it. I should be proud of that. I should be proud of that heroic history that I have. Instead, he went in the complete opposite direction, which is heroes are trash, my mom abandoned me. And it's weird how he flipped so quickly in between. Maybe it was the very rigorous abuse of his child here that made him realize. But I feel like that's the one issue I have with this, which is he should have realized earlier in his life that, you know, his mom did the best she could, and it took this long until his umpteenth beating of his child that he realized that, you know, my mom had reasons and maybe I shouldn't be so hard on my kids. So I feel like that was a bit of a weird development. But we see Shigaraki in the garden crying. He's like, and he's got the very classic Shigaraki bubbles around his comments, and he's saying, I can't take it anymore, I've had enough. His hand, all 5 fingers, touch the corgi, and he said, you just hear a crack, and he says, I hate everyone. So I assume the dog, you kill the dog. The dog is the first creature, the first victim of Shigaraki's quirk. But I'm still confused as to how Shigaraki suddenly developed this quirk. Especially, I'd understand if he developed it here under direct stress, like maybe somehow encourage this evolution within him, this dormant quirk to suddenly awaken. But his quirk came to him, the pain in his hand came to him when it was just a sunny, humid day and he was having an allergic reaction, chilling, before his dad even came to beat his ass. So, yeah, a very, very dark chapter in relation to Shigaraki's backstory, a very real backstory, but a chapter I enjoyed nonetheless, and I thought it was fantastic work by Horikoshi, and it did make Shigaraki's kind of reasoning of wanting to destroy everything. I hate everyone because I have all these enablers around me, these enablers of abuse. My mom, even though he loves her to bits, his grandparents, even though he loves them to bits, they're enabling this behavior. They're not being heroic. Their dad doesn't want heroes in the house. He doesn't want talk of heroes in the house, and he's literally drained the heroism from the house. The mom, the grandparents, not a single bit of courage within them. They're there saying don't attack, but they won't motion or move to stop the attacks. Very, very cowardly individuals, unfortunately. And I understand that, you know, the mother and the grandparents, what can you expect them to do? The father could brush them off, but, you know, do something. Your child's getting his ass beat. But nonetheless, it was a really good chapter, and it kind of solidified Shigaraki's reasoning for wanting to destroy the world, his whole I exist only to destroy kind of thing. And I do kind of see more of the fact that, you know, that's a good reason for him, but I was hoping there'd be more of like I want to destroy everything because, you know, in my history throughout my childhood, no matter what I did, everything was just piled on top of me, and everything was my fault. Everything was just resulted in abuse. I'm going to destroy everything because of that. I assume that's more or less where it's going, or where it's gone. But, you know, him just saying it the way he did, I felt like, you know, there could be more to it. Anyway, it's been a long ass review. Let me know what you guys thought of this chapter. Let me know what you guys thought of this review. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Let me know if the audio is good. And I'll see you guys in a bit.